Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Dubcast, part of the Roundball Australia Podcast Network. And the A-League Women Grand Final is set. Melbourne City to host Wellington Phoenix at Amy Park on Saturday afternoon. The first ever A-League's Grand Final will be contested with a New Zealand side featuring, based on the scenes of Poletti Park on the weekend. It's a shame they won't be hosting, but Melbourne City doing the job in the regular season to secure hosting rights for the grand final. Elsewhere, the Junior Matildas are heading off to the World Cup following their victory over Vietnam at the Under-17 Asian Cup. The Young Matildas are going to be in action in Canberra. An NPL star has got a 3-year deal with the Western Sydney Wanderers, and there's Aussie storylines aplenty in the Women's FA Cup final. My name is Poletti. Joining me is Burke. Once again, no shortage of things to talk about, but obviously the headline act is Wellington Phoenix's performance over Brisbane Roar to secure their spot in the grand final.
Yeah, they never leave us with little to discuss, even when there's only one game left to play, which is very good of them, actually, because it's bad if you have to scramble for stuff to talk about. They never leave us scrambling. Never.
No, they do not. We'll start, though, in Melbourne. We'll go in chronological order of the two games that took place. I will start in Melbourne at Casey Fields. Melbourne City 1, Melbourne victory 0, 2-0 on aggregate for Melbourne City. Shelby McMahon's strike in the 34th minute, enough to seal the deal for the home side on Saturday afternoon. And Burke, you were there. We heard from Jeff Hopkins last week that you know we're where we deserve to be. We're not going to play like that again this week. And then they went out and played exactly like they did last week. Was this Melbourne City just doing the job, or was this Melbourne victory handing them the tie?
I I think it was a bit of both. They made some changes in their starting lineup, so they played a bit differently, sort of, than they did last week. They had Taylor Ray come in and play as a right back, which I'm pretty sure she's never done before, at least for victory. They also had Rachel Lowe playing back as a false nine. They, they had Kennedy White starting as well, I believe. So they could play, or they could try to play a bit more direct. But to me, they looked good in pretty much every area of the park except for the decision making that they were making in the final third. They had so many crosses go in and just were aimed at no one, even though there was meant to be a target for them to hit. They were also, unfortunately, quite exposed on that right flank. Or was Taylor Ray left back? I get my rights and lefts confused. Please.
No, Taylor Ray right back, Alana Yanchevsky left back.
There we go. That was the other change that they made as well. They had Alana Yanchevsky starting as well. I think she probably should have played the first game as well, but that's just me. I'm not a head coach, thank God. But yeah, Taylor Ray unfortunately got exposed a lot, but anyone is going to get exposed by the pace of 18 Keane. She was on fire all game. So yeah, there were just a couple of points of weakness for victory that they just needed to not have happen to them. Yeah, they had a couple of really, really close shots right at the end from Alana Yanchevsky, where her first shot was on target and saved, and the second one also, yes, on target, hit the crossbar. Um, yeah, yeah, not the greatest performance we've seen by this victory team, and I mean I guess that's what you get when you play that way. Um, yeah.
I mean, we saw Melbourne victory kind of sneak into finals. They had to win their final round matchup, then had to rely on results going their way. But then they played Canberra and looked absolutely dominant. And it's just like, oh, we've seen this story before. Here we go again. Like, I can tell you how this book's going to end. It's going to end with Melbourne Victory lifting the trophy. And
Not this
then
time.
Melbourne City just shut them down. Like, I mean, like, based on where they finished on the ladder, right? Like, they deserve to be there, but it's very clear based on these two games, this 180 minutes, that the gap was just too massive this season. So I then, like, taking that into account, did they deserve to be there?
I mean, I was going to say the results, but the math says they do.
Yeah.
So it's really like everyone else's fault, sort of. You know, like if you didn't want them there, you should have won your games.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Look, on the Melbourne City side of things, you know, they've continued to go from strength to strength this season. This was a game that was sort of, I'd guess, un-City ball like in their performance, but when you've got a 2-goal lead on aggregate, particularly in the second half, and you've got a side who absolutely has to go for it, like, you know, I think that can probably be excused that maybe they didn't play the way they wanted to play, but, you know, it showed that they've got this other facet to their game that maybe we haven't necessarily seen in the past purely because they've been so dominant.
Yeah, it was good. I want to say it was good to see that they have that sort of other gear to play in. I don't know if gear is the right word because it's not like they were changing intensity, but a different track, I guess, a different lane to say. So yeah, I guess it shows that they can be multifaceted. Melbourne City, which isn't something you kind of expect to say about them, all things considered. But yeah, I think everyone across the board had a really, really good game. I think particularly Aidan Keane and Shelby McMahon. Shelby McMahon, oh, I could talk about Shelby McMahon. I won't because we'll be here for 3 hours.
I mean, you're on a podcast, so
Listen,
like talking's kind of what we do.
Not for 3 hours though. She is fantastic. She is an incredible player. She's also really, really good with media. And she's 17. Like, she was just having an absolute ball on Saturday. Not even pardon the pun. She was. She was having a ball. Yeah, her goal was unbelievable. I still don't know really how she made that happen. I'm not sure she would actually be able to tell you exactly how she made it happen, but she did. She loves scoring in these big high pressure games. She does it all the time. She was doing it in the Women's Champions League, the Asian Women's Champions League. She was doing it, I think it was last season. She scored the game winner against Perth to secure the plate.
I think that was the season before. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm
the
pretty sure
season
she was
before,
15
okay.
when she did that. So
Yes, she was. She's a big game player. She's a big game player, which is great news for City fans and football fans alike because Melbourne City only have big games left. They've got the grand final, and then they've got the semi-final of the Champions League, and then hopefully they've got the grand final of the Champions League. Well, the championship, whatever. Whatever. Only big games left. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Shelby McMahon pulls out for the rest of the games available to her.
yeah, certainly. Look, I mean, you know, this is what happens when you have such a stacked squad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like, you know, I mean, Shelby McMahon coming through, 17 years of age. Not a. I mean, I know this is a dub. Like, we only have 17-year-olds, and like each team has like one token 30-year-old. But like,
Or a
you look at
40-year-old if you're Melbourne City.
yes, Melissa Barbieri. Shout out to
Shout out
Bubs,
Bubs.
who continues to break the oldest player in the league record, and like I reckon she's probably just going to keep on going. Like she'll go around again next year.
I hope
And
she does. And I hope she goes
I
again
mean,
the next year.
why wouldn't you if you're
Exactly.
Bubs? But it's not the sort of thing that you think you would be seeing from a 17-year-old, particularly given that she's done it before in in the big situations, which sets Melbourne City up nicely. It also sets Wellington Phoenix up nicely because Pia Vlock was back in the starting lineup after a little bit of an injury concern. Another 17-year-old superstar across the other side of the ditch. But it was the Michaela Wood show at Poletti Park. She scored both of the goals, one in the first half, one in the first half of extra time. Had a couple of chances as well just before the full-time whistle to seal it. If there was ever a game to announce your presence and write yourself into Wellington Phoenix folklore, Michaela Woods did just that.
She's there. She's like folklore. There, she's the book. She's the book. Yeah, she had a fantastic outing for Wellington. That first goal that she scored, the ball in, the run, the finish, the whole thing, just incredible, gorgeous football that you dream about your team kind of playing. I really, this is not football. Well, it is football. I really loved they cut to the crowd after that. I think it was after the first goal, I'm pretty sure. And there was a Knicks fan holding up a giant sign that just said, "That was a goal."
It was after the second goal.
It was after the second one. That was a goal. That was so funny. So funny. Whoever you are, if you're out there, please, I hope you're bringing that sign to Melbourne because that is hysterical. Um, yeah, the fan atmosphere at Porirua, unreal. Do you guys want to do that every week, please? Or at least like 2/3 of you? Do you want to do that every week? Because that rocked. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was the largest crowd they've had at Poletti Park this season by far, just under 6,000 people into a sold-out stadium there at Porirua. Absolutely shattering their previous attendance record they've had this season at Porirua Park. There was obviously the game that they took to the Cake Tin. I don't remember what the sponsor name is now, so I'm not even going to bother trying to deal with it. They took it to the Cake Tin. Obviously got a larger crowd there as part of a double header, but this is, and I saw a tweet from Kieran Yap, who was
A
talking
likely
about,
thing for you to see.
of course, yes, who was talking about the crowds that delivered at Spencer Park and Porirua Park across this tie. And look, actually, what I will do is I will pull the tweet up. But it was talking about how these these crowds are what we need to see more of for the dub, purely to help the competition continue to develop. Sorry, scroll while I find it. There we go. So tweet from Kieran Yap. The A-League women doesn't need to do Matildas or World Cup numbers, and it almost certainly never will because national teams. But Brisbane Roar and Wellington have shown over the past fortnight what even 5 to 10% of that looks like. It's awesome and it's achievable. Bravo to both. And I think that hits it on the head, is what is achievable, what is there. Like, are they going to get 6,000 every week? Probably not. Can they get 3,500 every week? Probably.
I think they should. I think they should.
I mean, Brisbane Roar probably aren't going to sell out Spencer Park every week, for a number of different reasons. But can they get 2,500 every single week? I think that's achievable. Sydney FC probably aren't going to sell out Leichhardt Oval unless one, they start winning again. Two, they get Courtney Vine back. But they could get 5,000 every week. I think that's achievable. Wanderers Football Park, it should be selling out every week. Melbourne City should be selling out Casey Fields every week. They got, I think it was 1,600 for this game. That's probably a bigger discussion about City and their crowds and everything in general. But Melbourne Victory should be getting 3,000 every week to the home of the Matildas. These are achievable numbers that show long term, growth and success. We're not asking for 20,000 people to turn up every single week. Maybe cumulatively across all the games. But we're not asking for 20,000 people to turn up to a single game. One day, I hope to get to that point, but it's taking the steps in the right direction. And I think, if this is what's achievable in a one-off fixture, how do we scale this so that it's achievable over the course of a season to get a high average? And I think, we've seen what it looks like at its best. We know, what finals football does to the Australian sporting public. We know finals take on this extra significance and all of that. Brisbane Roar didn't come close to selling out Spencer Park this season, and then they sold it out twice in 2 weeks because it was finals football. So I think it's getting that level of interest in the regular season that's going to be the issue going forward. But it's achievable. I think you can put your efforts into doing it. I don't think it's too much of an ask.
Yeah, I think the only, the real barriers are the ones that we've always discussed for, how long have we been running this podcast for now? Too long. 2 years?
2 years, I think, yes.
2 years. Too many. That's a lie. There's never too many years. It's the same barriers that we've always spoken about, being affordability, accessibility. I think that's what really keeps people away from both the Melbourne teams, because getting out to Casey, at least for me, and I technically live in the southeast, was already 50 minutes. So if you're trying to come across from the other side of the city, I don't blame you at all for not wanting to do that. Even if you're even if you're central, I still don't blame you for not wanting to do that. And yeah. Melbourne Victory, they play at the home of the Matildas, which is in Bundoora. It's a little bit more accessible by public transport because it's based on the university campus, but not by a whole lot. And those kinds of things do have a big say on whether or not you're attending games. And of course, cost of living crisis, blah blah blah. Although, actually, public transport is free right now. Everyone should be going to the grand final. Every single person in Melbourne. You have actually, low-key, no excuse. Get on a train, get on a tram, get a bus, get several buses. It's free. Make a day of it.
That's what I would be doing, except for the fact I live in Sydney.
A valid excuse.
It is a valid excuse. That's not to say that I didn't look at every possible option.
Did you look at the
which
train?
I did. I looked at the train. I looked at a bus. I looked at flights. I looked at driving.
Did you look at walking?
I would have had to have left last week.
Oh. Okay.
And look,
You're not walking right now?
No.
That's crazy. What? You haven't superimposed this background?
No, I have not. But no, I thought, but like I said, the problem I had was that the 4 p.m. kickoff time made it impossible for every single cheap option to actually work out. Because if the game went to extra time, I would have had to leave at the end of the 90 minutes, which would defeat the entire purpose of coming down to Melbourne. But yeah, no, it's interesting that you mention the where Casey Fields is, because I was remembered of and sorry to talk about men's football for a minute, but I remember reading or hearing a story about Jamie McLaren, former Melbourne City men's player who's currently playing in India. he lived in Essendon and would commute to Casey Fields for every training session, and
You
I'm
couldn't
just
pay me. Like you actually
like
couldn't,
I'm looking at where
and they
this
were
is on a
paying him.
map.
Don't.
Like I'm looking at where this is on a map, and it's like
That has to be
that
like
would
two
be like,
hours each way.
yeah, I mean, like it says it's 70 kilometers, a little bit over an hour. Like I did that for 2 years via train, and I was wrecked by the end of it. So like I can understand why.
Cut the cameras.
Um,
Immediately no.
yeah, I can
That's
understand why people
insane.
don't want to do it.
If you actually like, because of the time of day that you're checking it at, if you checked with like actual
If I checked like
traffic,
actual in the morning, yes, it'd probably be
no,
closer to 2 hours. Yeah,
immediately no. That is crazy. Can't say he wasn't committed, although he was getting paid for it. I'm
yeah.
committed because I'm not getting paid for it, and I still go out. I still go to Casey.
But
Oh,
yes, look, I completely lost where we were.
we're
Sorry,
talking
we were
about
talking about Wellington.
accessibility and
Yes, we were talking about
crowds.
accessibility, the crowds, all of that. I think we did enough on that. For the Brisbane Roar though, uh, look, it's a disappointing way to end a season. But I mean, it's also just like Wellington wanted it more.
Yeah, as disappointing as it is, it also is their most successful season in a very long time, which you can't discredit. So I think major props to them for making it as far as they did, considering they did have their like regularly scheduled collapse. But this time they dug themselves out of the hole. They didn't dig further down, which made me really happy. Yeah, and they showed they can get a great atmosphere going. So really, like, as much as it sucks for them and their fans, they shouldn't be the way they shouldn't be acting the way Sydney FC fans should be acting, is what I'm trying to say. Like it was still overall hugely successful for them. Because they haven't been in finals since like 2014. No, they wouldn't have been in a
So it's
grand final since 2014.
that
That's
sounds
it.
more right.
They haven't been
Yes.
in finals since like 2018. Is that it? 19? Something like that. Whatever. It's been a long time between finals appearances for them. Sorry I don't have the exact correct facts. My brain is currently melting out of my ears. That's why I'm wearing headphones this time to keep it in. You're welcome. Um, but yeah, it's still a really, really successful season for Brisbane. They showed that they can take it to top teams because obviously they won last week. I guess it's just a case of, you know, going the distance, which they weren't able to do. And playing at Poletti is not easy on a day that isn't the second leg of your semi-finals. And yeah, with that kind of crowd as well, like yeah, the sense of occasion, all signs kind of pointed towards Wellington to me, um, and they did. So I did love the tifo that the Wellington fans brought out, the Viva la Bevolution. Really good, really good. Do that again, guys,
Yeah.
please.
Good gear indeed from the Wellington fans. There were obviously questions coming into the season, and this is probably more of a post-season review chat sort of areas, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. There were there were obviously questions about Bev Priestman, whether she'd be able to settle into club football, the week in week out nature of it. I think I mean, it was clear, probably about halfway through the season, you could put those questions to bed. But I mean, she's also delivered the club its first ever grand final appearance in either the men's or the women's competition. Like, she has well and truly settled into club football.
Viva la Bevolution. They weren't wrong. Yeah, she can
No,
absolutely hack it. Um, we'll see if she can. We'll see how well she can coach a grand final. She's coached pretty big games before, but dare I say, this is the biggest yet. What's a gold medal? I don't know her. She doesn't mean anything compared to the Dub Grand Final. I'm being so serious.
I mean,
Olympic gold medal? Who cares? Who is care?
it's beating Sweden, who continuously finish second.
Always the bridesmaids.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Never
Sweden.
the
I didn't mean that like
brides.
that.
They should have won a
No,
bit
look,
more. And they should have had drones. Who said that? Not me. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if she can hack it in her biggest game yet. Certainly her
look,
biggest
and
game in this competition. But
yes,
I'm saying it's her biggest game yet. Why? Because the dub is a serious competition. Incredibly serious competition.
I haven't done up the disclaimer, but this is where I should put that disclaimer we talked about a few weeks ago at the bottom of the screen. The opinions of Burke do not necessarily reflect those of Poletti, Ramble Australia, or the Dubcast.
What?
Um,
What? You're telling me this isn't a hive mind where everyone shares the same opinion? That's crazy. We gotta work on that.
looking ahead to the grand final itself, as said, Melbourne City versus Wellington Phoenix Saturday afternoon at Amy Park. Wellington don't have the best record in Melbourne. I think they might have one win. I don't have the exact number in front of me off the top of my head.
Yeah, they have 2 draws against Victory, so they haven't lost every single time they've been in Melbourne.
Yeah, but they don't have a winning record. Is sort of
No,
what I was getting at. They've struggled in Melbourne.
they're
To
like
be fair, they have
zero
struggled.
three eight in Melbourne or something like that.
Yeah,
0-3-6.
they've struggled. To
Sorry.
be fair, they have struggled a lot of places around the league.
Yeah.
You know, those first couple of seasons were rough
And they
for
were
the
a brand new
Phoenix.
team, so
Yep,
they were,
we can excuse that.
you can't really say that they were rising from the ashes when it was their first season, but there's a line there, something
Yeah,
that someone smarter than me will work out. Yeah, yeah, they haven't got a winning record, as you were saying, in Melbs. Maybe this is the game they start having a winning record in Melbourne. Stranger things have happened. I mean, no one would have said that Central Coast were winning it all last season. So
no, they wouldn't have. For Wellington, we know what Melbourne City are like when they're at their best, and even sometimes when they're not at their best. It's
they can
more
make
than
it
enough to get
happen.
the job done. They make it happen. For Wellington Phoenix to win its first piece of silverware, how does Bev Priestman find a way to break down the might of the City football juggernaut?
I'm gonna say they're gonna have to try and do what they did against Brisbane on the weekend. That first goal, especially with that long ball, and Michaela Woods just kind of outran her defender and put the ball away. That's what they're gonna have to do. They're gonna have to exploit the backline somehow, and I think it's going to come down to a foot race. Because City's centre back line, like the centre backs, aren't the fastest of players, which is, I think, why City play such a possession based, well, aside from it being City Football Group mandated football, um, that's part of why they play such a possession based game where they push their backline up to kind of pin the ball down. But they can be exposed in those sort of quick breaks. I think that might be part of it. But otherwise, they're very, very defensively sound, Melbourne City. Um, Set pieces, corners. I don't know if City is hugely vulnerable to them because they do have quite a few big tall players in there. But that could be another option for them. Yeah, that good luck. Good luck.
On the Melbourne City side of things, as I just said, we know what Melbourne City are when they're at their best. We know what they're like when they're not at their best. It's usually still enough to get the job done. The question I'm going to put to you in terms of City, because I don't want this to sound like a slight against Melbourne City. I don't think there's too much point in talking about what they're going to do tactically. We know what they're going to do tactically. We know how they're going to line up. We know, what they're going to do to try and win the game. The question I want to put to you is looking at what they've got coming up over the next 2 weeks. The grand final.
They're on a
Does
plane
that allow a way? Does that allow a way in for Wellington to take advantage of, even if subconsciously Melbourne City have one eye on Tokyo Verde in Suwon?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I do think there's merit in it. But you do have to remember that this particular trophy, has eluded Melbourne City for the last, 3, 4 years now? At least 3 years. So I think they're really gonna, you know, keep keep everything Champions League related, out of sight, out of mind until that final whistle goes. Yeah, because they don't really. They want that trophy. They want it so badly. Because, Shapley McMahon's already appeared in a few grand finals and no trophy lifts. Hopefully, this will be the one for them. But yeah, it's the one thing that's kind of eluded them, at least in the national competition. So.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously fell in the semi-final last year. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So obviously, Central Coast Mariners Melbourne Victory last year, semi-final loss for Melbourne City. They got beaten by Sydney FC at AAMI Park.
Yep.
In the 2024 grand final, where Sydney FC basically shut up shop for 90 minutes, got a goal on the break.
Like I said, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. And then obviously there were the two Melbourne Victory Sydney FC finals in 21 and 22. I mean, I don't remember which one it was, but one of those stands out with Rado Vidicic, his side up because they had that weird finals format where it was 1v2, 3v4, and then the loser played the winner of the 3v4 game, and and yeah, exactly. And so Rado Vidicic started taking players off.
Yeah.
Sydney FC come back, they take it to extra time, and they just absolutely wipe the floor with Melbourne City, and then they went out to Melbourne Victory the week after. And then there was the 22-23 season, the 23 grand final, which saw Melbourne City go out in that penalty shootout at Casey Fields to Melbourne Victory on penalties, where Casey Dumont stole the show entirely. So the last time Melbourne City won the grand final was literally I think it was 2 days before the world shut down.
Yep, and I think it was Steph Catley's goal.
Yes,
that won their single goal that won the game
in front of a grand total of 0
people
because they opted. No, it was 0. It was a record. Well, I can't say record attendance. The lowest ever attendance recorded for a grand final of 0 because it was behind. It was behind closed doors, which is the last time Melbourne City won the trophy. So that's 5 straight years they haven't won. They've had 3 consecutive Premiers plates in that time. They have an Asian Women's Champion, an AFC Women's Champions League final appearance to their name, which they lost to Wuhan Jiangda. They've got a chance to potentially do that again as well and claim that trophy. But, this core of Melbourne City players has not won the grand final. And so, yeah, it is a valid point. And like I said, I just worry that subconsciously, because it's human nature, right?
Of course.
You've always got one eye on what's looking ahead. But hopefully Matriciani and the coaching staff are doing everything they can to just keep them focused on this grand final from a Melbourne City perspective, from a Wellington Phoenix perspective. They'll be hoping they're on the plane already.
Yeah.
Like, bags
Yeah.
packed off to the airport. They don't,
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure they leave for Suwon that night as well. So even if they win the grand final, there will be no crazy celebrations because they have to go.
yeah.
I can't imagine how much fun being drunk on a plane would be. It doesn't sound ideal to me, but yeah, that's me. Maybe they will.
I again, postseason discussion areas, but I wonder, and I understand the Asian Cup this year changed the way the schedule had to be set out a little bit, taking it off during the group stage. I just don't think it's sustainable for the grand final to be taking place the week before this Asian Women's Champions League hub does. Like, something has to be done about the scheduling there from the APL, but we can look at that in more detail a little bit later. Just a tip for the grand final, please, Burke.
Oh. I don't know. I want to say it's City that they finally get it done this year, but it would also be great areas if Wellington won it, because, this shows the proof of what they're doing in putting so much backing into their women's side. Um, but I think I'm gonna have to say maybe 2-1 City. Do not
Fair.
do not make any kind of bet based on my thoughts and opinions. My thoughts and opinions aren't even reflected by those on this podcast. Don't listen to me.
I mean,
Gambling is bad.
I could dispute what you've just said, but I'm not going to
Do
because
not bet on anything based on what I've said.
okay. I'm definitely not going to dispute that. No, what I was going to say is I'm really liking the feeling of this fence because I think if Melbourne City are to win, they'll do it in the 90 minutes. I think if it goes to extra time,
It's
Wellington
anyone's
will
game.
find a way to get it done. I think Wellington will get it done if it goes beyond the 90 minutes. That's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. Normal time, Melbourne City. If it goes to extra time, Wellington will find a way to win. This fence really is comfy. I like it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. You know what? Maybe you should make a bet based on my thoughts, feelings, and opinions, because at least I was game enough to have one.
That is your look ahead to the A-League Women Grand Final Saturday afternoon at Amy Park. Tickets are on sale. I believe it's $30 for adults in general admission. So buy them, pack that joint out. It's going to be a fantastic game of football.
You might see
and
me.
you're guaranteed to see a trophy lift at the end of it.
You will. You may also see me, and you can call me insufferable to my face this time. Everybody wins.
Everyone wins indeed. We're going to take a look at national team news now. The Junior Matildas have qualified for the Under-17 Women's World Cup for the first time following a 2-0 victory over Vietnam at the Under-17 Women's Asian Cup quarter final. Frida Karabassis, more on her later, and Layla Hussein, the goal scorers for the Junior Matildas. So they are off to the semi-finals at the Asian Cup where they will face Japan, but they do have the Under-17 Women's World Cup to look forward to later this year. A fantastic effort by the Junior Matildas, Burke.
Yeah, really good stuff. I'm really, really happy for them. I try not to put too much stock into this because I feel everyone needs to remember that we are talking about children here, like 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. So when or if they get battered, I don't care. But I'm very happy for them to be going off to the World Cup. I think that's that's a great achievement. It's you said the first time that we've managed that? So
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great gear. Yeah, and I hope this is the start of a really positive spell for the mini Tillies. We'll call them
Junior Matildas.
the little Tilly, the Lily little Tillies, whatever, the Junior Matildas. Yeah, hopefully this is sort of, thinking back to what Joe was saying at the Asian Cup about sort of getting every junior team playing the same way that the senior team will play. Hopefully this is sort of the start of that, and we can start seeing some success, and then later on we can just be like Japan, where we just put a new one in and they already know what they're doing. They just kind of take out the puzzle pieces, but they're all the same shape, so they all work. Hopefully that's what we're going to get here. But yeah.
It goes in the square hole.
It does. It will. It must. Yeah, but yeah, congratulations to them. That's really exciting. Japan, I am very scared for them, but they must remember they're going to the World Cup. Regardless of what happens against Japan, no one can take that World Cup qualification from them.
Yep, so they've already faced Japan in this tournament already. They faced them in the group stage. It was a 5-0 loss on match day 3. Little bit of a shaky start to the tournament as a whole for the Junior Tillies, but, you know, have grown into as the tournament's gone on. And if you want to actually watch some of these players, I'm looking through the team list here, and honestly, I can't stress this enough. Go watch the NPL, because there are players running around every week in the NPL New South Wales women's. Not all of them. There are some, you know, across Victoria and other states, but go check out your NPL. Trust me, you will more than likely see some of these players in action in any given week. While the young Matildas, so the under-20s, after their Asian Cup campaign in April, in which they failed to qualify for the Women's World Cup, they will face New Zealand in a 2-match friendly series. The first match of the series will be behind closed doors. The Saturday game will be open to friends and family, so no general public getting to go in and have a look. It is a very good squad that has been selected by Alex Aparkis. Amy Barker, Amelia Bennett, Tegan Bertolicio, Chelsea Biggs, Ishia Brooking, Daisy Brown, Amelia Cassar, Sienna Dale, Emma Dundas, Eliza Hamilton, Tiana Fuller, Sky Helmaric, Claire Horo, who had to withdraw from the Asian Cup due to injury, Isabella Hoyle, Sarah Kruger, Alona Mele, Alyssa Angsard, Poppy O'Keefe, Ivani Prakash, Lily Punch, Georgia Ritchie, Sienna Silvesca, Ruby Sullivan, Talia Yunus, and Miriam Zamaya. So those 2 games will be taking place next week, the 20th of May and the 23rd of May. They're in Canberra, but as I said, those games behind closed doors. A little bit disappointing I won't be able to watch them, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there might still be a broadcast, but I'm guessing based on that there won't be. So quite disappointing, but should still be some good games against New Zealand to sort of give this age group some more experience, who are against a side who are preparing for their Women's World Cup later this year in Poland, as New Zealand did qualify.
Oceania. We're too big for the small pond, unfortunately. But yeah, it'll be good for them. Every time we play New Zealand, no matter what level we're playing at, it's giving like Christmas kick around in the backyard with your cousins. So hopefully they take it a bit more seriously than that, just to see what New Zealand has in them. Yeah, I hope they at least release the results. They'll probably have to if the game opens a family. But hopefully they release all the results as well, so we can at least have that and see something of it.
Yeah, hopefully we will get that. There has been there's been a little bit of some scouting by New Zealand in terms of who they've selected for their squad, in terms of what they've done, looking at some Australian talent here. I'll run through the list. You've got Mary Brown, Melbourne City; Charlotte Mortlock, Northern Tigers; Phoebe Riley, Gladesville Ravens; Lily Taylor, Bulls FC Academy, and then Scarlett Gray from the Central Coast Mariners in terms of the Australian-based players. So some good work there, and I do thank Teo Palazzeri for compiling that list for me of the Australian-based players. Well, I mean, he posted it on Twitter, but he did compile that list. Charlotte Mortlock is an interesting one from the Northern Tigers. She's a midfielder. She knows how to control the game at different points. I do know she's a penalty taker this season for the Northern Tigers. There is a funny story there. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell it, so I'm not going to. But, if all goes according to plan, that story will be told on the Dubcast at a future point in time. Just need to lock in an interview to make that happen. Charlotte Mortlock, former under-17 international as well for New Zealand, so she's been, in and around the system at different points as well. So I would like to say I'm looking forward to seeing her in action with the national team, but as we've just established,
we will not be seeing.
We will not be seeing. Might get some highlights maybe, but no. So very clear New Zealand. Looking across the ditch as well to help continue their development. Speaking of continuing development, I did say we'd be hearing a little bit more about Frida Carabaris earlier. She has signed a 3-year deal with the Western Sydney Wanderers in a move the club says is underlining its long-term commitment to developing elite youth through its high-performance pathway. Carabaris joined the Wanderers Academy as a 14-year-old last year. She has played senior NPL already. Last year, I did call her a couple of times. Didn't realize she was 14 at the time. I mean, I don't know exactly when her birthday is. Could have been 15 when she made her senior debut, but certainly quite young there. Fun fact, not the only 14-year-old who was playing senior NPL women's football last year. I already touched on Madison Habilla. I've told that story previously here on the Dubcast, who's made her way to the Western Sydney Wanderers and was playing in their game, a 5-0 win on the weekend over NWS Spirit. She came off the bench, the side which she was playing for last year. So some little bit of synergy there at different point. Quotes from the A-League Women head coach Jeff Abrahams. Frida has a great mentality that really separates her from others in her age group. She approaches every training session with maturity, focus, and a strong willingness to learn. And she's a very exciting long-term prospect for this football club. While Carabaris was saying, I think it's a great place to develop as a young player. One of the best in the country. Being around experienced players helps me learn something new every day and improve my game. I think this is a very good signing for the Western Sydney Wanderers, locking in, Carabaris for the next 3 years, Burke.
Yeah, definitely. These kinds of longer contracts are also great. I love to see 2 years, 3 years, because that means when they inevitably become very, very good, they don't just walk away. It's like a ransom. You get to hold them for ransom, and you will get money back for this. But yeah, very, very good stuff. I hope we will soon see an end to the failure of the Western Sydney Wanderer talent pipeline, because there are many, many talented players that have played for Western Sydney and come from Western Sydney and just haven't found the success that they should have had at Western Sydney. So hopefully this is the start of seeing that. I've said it, I feel like I say this about a lot of teams, but I really would like for Western Sydney to be good. I really would. I think a lot of people would. I think they would, actually.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Another signing that will help them do it, because I don't think we actually talked about this one last week. Alyssa Ringsard on a 2-year deal for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Made her debut for the club this year at senior level. At least I'm pretty sure it was this year or this season off the top of my head. Another one who's come through the NPL pathway as a Western Sydney local was with the Blacktown Spartans before that. and she was quite impressive with the Blacktown Spartans as well. So, it's nice to see the Western Sydney Wanderers making moves, and signing up these players on, somewhat long-term deals, rather than those year-in, year-out contracts that, have littered the history of the A-League women's competition, with players quite often leaving on free transfers at the end of them because, well, not even free transfers, just leaving as free agents because they're on one-year deals. So that's a bit of news there for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Some great efforts there. You had one more thing you wanted to say, Burke?
I have news from NPLW Victoria, because they love announcing things. Everyone loves announcing things. Thankfully, this time it's while we're recording and not immediately after. So the NPLW coach for Melbourne Victory side, Santi Escudero, I'm gonna hopefully have said that right. He's been offered an opportunity overseas, which he's taking. So the NPLW Melbourne Victory team will now be coached by Jeff Hopkins.
We're 53 minutes into this podcast, and you throw that on me now.
Well, it was
no.
Once again,
I understand.
Kieran Yap posted about it 42 minutes ago, so we're actually kind of late.
But still, news that broke while we're recording, which is why I can understand why we haven't necessarily, seen it. Okay.
That'll be one to watch.
That is
definitely.
That is definitely interesting. I don't have too many thoughts on it in the immediate aftermath, so this might be one we tackle in a little bit more detail next week. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting move for Melbourne Victory to make. For a second there, I thought you were going to tell me Bentley Greens had won a game, and I just completely forgotten to check the NPL Victoria results.
You can slag off your NPL. Leave my NPL alone. I can slag them off, not you. Keep it local.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep it local. I apologise to Bentley.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm accepting that on their behalf.
I believe
because they're right around the corner from me.
I mean, this will be announced. Actually, this will be released on Wednesday morning. But what I will say, so I can't tell you about some of these, but there is midweek cup action in Victoria. The Nike FC Cup, which is the women's cup competition down there, has a number of Wednesday kickoffs. So plenty of action for you to get around. I mean, we've got action at the home of the Matildas. We've got action at the Veneto Club, out in Ballarat, City Vista. Genesis Steel Stadium for Preston Lions, South Melbourne playing at Lakeside. So plenty of women's knockout cup action for your Wednesday night in Victoria, if that is of your fancy. It looks like there's a couple of very good games here as well. So certainly, if you can make your way out to some midweek cup action. If you're listening to this on the day of release, if you're listening to this on a Thursday or a Friday, then unfortunately...
Too late.
Yeah. There is a Thursday night game. There is a Thursday night game as well. Beaumara Soccer Club hosting Westside Strikers Carolyn Springs FC at Knox Regional Football Centre, wherever that is. I actually don't know where that one is. But yeah, so, plenty of midweek cup action for you. I don't believe there's any Sapphire Cup games this week. In New South Wales, but the quarterfinalists have been set in the Sapphire Cup. So when those games are taking place, we'll be sure to let you know about those as well. And then the last little bit of business to touch on today, the Women's FA Cup final. The semi-finals taking place over the weekend. Brighton Hove Albion 3 defeating Liverpool FC 2. And then Manchester City 3 defeating Chelsea 2 after extra time. Plenty of Australian connections here. Obviously, Chelsea, Sam Kerr, Ellie Carpenter going down to Mary Fowler and Manchester City. Bunny Shaw, the star of the show there for Manchester City. Mary Fowler also getting on the score sheet as
Great
well.
goal.
Yep, absolutely great goal. While for Brighton, Dario Vidicic coaching the side to an FA Cup final, Burke.
Mighty, mighty seagulls. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. I've been a real fan of Dario ever since he took over at Melbourne City. Been a fan, was a fan of his father as well, Rado. So this is really, really exciting stuff. Obviously, there's been a bit, I would imagine it'd be a bit of a hard year for him, Dario, considering Rado passed away earlier this year, but that's really exciting stuff for him. It's the first trophy I think that they'll be in contention for, at least for their women's side. I have no idea about their men's side. Don't even think about asking me about that. So yeah, massive, massive. I hope they win it. No more down with City Football Group. No more City Football Group, please. At least in Europe, it can happen here.
Yeah, so certainly one to keep an eye on as the season progresses there in England. Sam Kerr also getting on the score sheet in that game. So Aussies all round finding success, although only one of them could go through to the final itself. Well, actually, two of them, Mary Fowler, obviously, but then Dario and Brighton making their way through as well. But that will do for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Roundball Australia podcast network. Just under the full hour this week, but plenty to talk about. And we'll be back next week to break down the grand final, whichever way it may fall, Burke.
Yeah, very. I can't believe we made it. I can't believe we made it. It's been a very, very long season. A very long season.
It has been an incredibly long season, yes. The Asian Cup did a number on all of us, I fear.
Yeah, don't fly to Perth multiple times in the span of a week. It's just not a good idea. Financially, spiritually, physically, it's not a good idea.
I can confirm I did not do that. I stuck exclusively to the East Coast, and I still found myself exhausted at the end of it.
Yeah. But we made it. We made it. We dragged ourselves through the dirt. We made it.
We did indeed. We'll be back next week, as I said, to talk about the A-League Women Grand Final. Also look ahead to Melbourne City's game against Tokyo Verde in the AFC Women's Champions League, and hopefully have a Matilda squad to talk about as well. But for Burke, my name is Poletti. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.